CEAP stands for JEEPGY, and I stand with them. I stand for justice and peace. I seek a society free from war and the threat of it, a society that accepts and respects diversity, protecting the rights and dignity of every person. The CEAP stands with me through their programs on conflict resolution, peer mediation, and peace education. I stand for ecological integrity, for respecting the environment as our common home and working together for its preservation and protection. The CEAP protects our common home with its programs in food security like organic farming, energy management, and the preservation of key ecosystems like the Save the Sierra Madre program. I stand for engaged citizenship, for working with my LGU to respond to the concrete problems and challenges of our communities. The CEAP works with my school to give more students opportunities to be good citizens. I participate in their Citizens Watch and Voters Education programs. I stand for poverty reduction, for improving the lives of our less fortunate brothers and sisters through programs that foster the fair distribution of wealth and promote the good of all. The CEAP helps me to do this with their feeding programs, livelihood programs, and disaster relief operations. I stand for gender equality, for the end of discrimination against women, for the integration of LGBT into society, and respect for all our brothers and sisters in Christ. The CEAP stands with me with our programs in young women leadership training and gender fair education. I stand for youth empowerment, for enabling the youth to act and lead with compassion, freedom, and responsibility. I stand with the CEAP, and you can too. Sakay na sa JEEPGY. Talk to your regional JEEPGY champion to see how you... What is JEEPGY? The CEAP stands for JEEPGY, and I stand with them. I stand for justice and peace. I seek a society free from war and the threat of it, a society that accepts and respects diversity, protecting the rights and dignity of every person. The CEAP stands with me through their programs on conflict resolution, peer mediation, and peace education. I stand for ecological integrity, for respecting the environment as our common home and working together for its preservation and protection. The CEAP protects our common home with its programs in food security like organic farming, energy management, and the preservation of key ecosystems like the Save the Sierra Madre program. I stand for engaged citizenship, for working with my LGU to respond to the concrete problems and challenges of our communities. The CEAP works with my school to give more students opportunities to be good citizens. I participate in their Citizens Watch and Voters Education programs. I stand for poverty reduction, for improving the lives of our less fortunate brothers and sisters through programs that foster the fair distribution of wealth and promote the good of all. The CEAP helps me to do this with their feeding programs, livelihood programs, and disaster relief operations. I stand for gender equality, for the end of discrimination against women, for the integration of LGBT into society, and respect for all our brothers and sisters in Christ. The CEAP stands with me with our programs in young women leadership training and gender fair education. I stand for youth empowerment, for enabling the youth to act and lead with compassion, freedom, and responsibility. I stand with the CEAP, and you can too. Sakay na sa JEEPGY. Talk to your regional JEEPGY champion to see how you can help. is JEEPGY. The CEAP stands for JEEPGY, and I stand with them. I stand for justice and peace. I seek a society free from war and the threat of it, a society that accepts and respects diversity, protecting the rights and dignity of every person. The CEAP stands with me through their programs on conflict resolution, peer mediation, and peace education. I stand for ecological integrity, for respecting the environment as our common home and working together for its preservation and protection. The CEAP protects our common home with its programs in food security like organic farming, energy management, and the preservation of key ecosystems like the Save the Sierra Madre program. I stand for engaged citizenship, for working with my LGU to respond to the concrete problems and challenges of our communities. The CEAP works with my school to give more students opportunities to be good citizens. I participate in their Citizens Watch and Voters Education programs. I stand for poverty reduction, for improving the lives of our less fortunate brothers and sisters through programs that foster the fair distribution of wealth and promote the good of all. The CEAP helps me to do this with their feeding programs, livelihood programs, and disaster relief operations. I stand for gender equality, for the end of discrimination against women, for the integration of LGBT into society, and respect for all our brothers and sisters in Christ. The CEAP stands with me with our programs in young women leadership training and gender fair education. I stand for youth empowerment, for enabling the youth to act and lead with compassion, freedom, and responsibility. I stand with the CEAP, and you can too. Sakay na sa JEEPGY. Talk to your regional JEEPGY champion to see how you can help.
Blessed morning to all the administrators, faculty, and personnel of the CEAP member schools all over the Philippines. I am Mel Reyes, the Executive Director of Women and Gender Institute and the Chairperson of the International Studies Department of Miriam College, and I will be your MC today. Welcome to Day 4 of our 2022 CEAP National JEEPGY Conference, brought to you in partnership with the Private Education Assistance Committee or PEA. Before we continue, let us begin our session with an opening prayer as we remember that we are in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Loving God, as we continue our Lenten journey, purify our hearts and minds. Free us from the darkness of hatred and lies. Give us the grace to let go of our pride and to be humble in our asking for forgiveness. Forgive our impatience as we wait for the unfolding of greater things you have prepared for us. Help us to live the way you ask us to live. Lead us in good works and strengthen our faith. Allow us to always make your love visible in the world as we pray for a clean, honest, and peaceful election. Amen. Miriam of Nazareth, teach us your ways and lead us to Jesus. Good morning once again. For those who just tune in with us, we welcome you to day 4 of our JEEPGY conference with today's session entitled #Break the Bias Towards Transformative Leadership and Good Governance. We are live both on the CEAP Facebook page and the CEAP channel on YouTube. Before we begin, allow me to give you some reminders. First, as the talk is ongoing, we encourage you to post your questions or comments at the comment section on Facebook and YouTube, and we will ask these questions or read the comments during the discussion with our speakers. Second, about the certificates, we get a lot of curious about certificates. So please be informed that you will receive the certificate of attendance only upon completion of the evaluation form. The link has already been posted as of the caption of this video, both on YouTube and Facebook. But please note that the link will only go live after this session, and we will be open only up to 5 p.m. today. So if you click it now, it's not going to open yet. We encourage you to answer the evaluation form and you will receive your certificate of attendance within 3 to 5 days. Finally, please be reminded as well that this is a free webinar brought to you in partnership with the Private Education Assistance Committee. Again, we are giving this to you for free, but if you want to pay it forward, you may donate to our Kapatirang Kamagong Fund. It is our fund for helping the poor and struggling CEAP mission schools. Lastly, we encourage you to share this webinar to your networks with the hashtag CEAPCares, I Love Catholic Ed, CEAPJEEPGY. Let me now introduce our session for today. Today's session is focused on the role of gender in political participation and leadership. Through an open and interactive panel discussion, the session is directed at deepening the understanding and knowledge of the participants on public perceptions regarding women's qualifications and their track record when contesting in elections. It will also delve into the reasons why barriers to their participation still remain to be prevalent in this day and age. Consequently, this session will allow us to look further into the future of how biases and prejudice against female leaders in our political structures could be dismantled. We have two key experts in this session who will share their critical insights about gender and this 2022 elections. They are former Commissioner Rowena Guanzon and Dr. Encinas-Franco of the University of the Philippines. Our first speaker, Attorney Maria Rowena Amelia B. Guanzon, was a commissioner of the Commission on Audit in 2013. Prior to her appointment as Commissioner of the Commission on Elections, she was a litigation lawyer, writer, and a law professor who is well known as an expert in the field of gender equality and laws on violence against women. Our second speaker, Ms. Dr. Jean Encinas-Franco, is currently an associate professor in the Department of Political Science, College of Social Sciences and Philosophy, University of the Philippines, Diliman. Before she entered the academe, she worked for 15 years at the Senate of the Philippines, where she was Director 3 of the Senate Economic Planning Office. Moderating today's session is Professor Aurora Javate-De, who is a leading feminist advocate for women's human rights and gender equality. She is currently the Senior Project Director of the Women and Gender Institute after serving as its Executive Director for 10 years. I now pass the virtual floor to Ms. Oyi to moderate this session.
Okay, good morning to everyone. Good morning to our distinguished speaker being here. Hello, Dr. Jean, Mayan, and
Hello.
Wagi, and our participants. Welcome everybody to this what promises to be an engaging and exciting discussion. And we are our theme for today is transformative leadership towards good governance. I think it's not surprising to have this theme. I think this is what is now at stake in this election, because what we have had so far, and predominantly in our politics, is the kind of politics that we refer to as transactional politics, a politics that depends on the use of force and the use of rewards and punishment in order to create the electorate that is passive and submissive. On the other hand, transformative leadership has emerged as a new model for good governance, because transformative leaders are not out to perpetuate themselves in power, but to provide leadership and service to the citizens that they have been elected, that have elected them. So transformative leaders are visionaries, are people who communicate and communicate with their followers, and provide and motivate and inspire their followers to serve the needs of the citizenry. So this is quite a contrast to the traditional politics that we have. So for today, we have two very distinguished speakers to help us understand what this transformative leadership towards good governance is all about. So we would like to kind of pose certain issues that women in politics normally face. So it is a tremendous burden for women, to run for office. And the first thing that they will have to face are the kinds of challenges that are before them in order they can run successfully for office. So I think we have from our listeners and also from our colleagues, these are some of the issues that I think should be and can be clarified by our experts for today. So the first thing that if I were to run as for a post in the elections, what are the kinds of challenges that women should anticipate, and how are they, for example, perceived or seen in public today? No, especially women, as we all know, women are sometimes prejudged by the fact that they are women. So I think that this is the first thing that we would like our speakers to kind of respond to. Ano yung mga challenges natin pagka gusto nating tumakbo sa politika? Pwede ba nating unahin sino gustong mga Bing? Hello, from Bacolod. Are you in Bacolod? Are you mute, Juan?
Am I ready? Ready na?
Yes. Yes, narinig ka na namin.
Okay. For women in politics, the same problems are recurring, which is that politics is a dirty business, and there's a lot of vote buying, and you need a lot of money to win the elections. Aside from the fact that our political party system is very weak and is based on patronage, and the men are the gatekeepers of these political parties. That's why I was proposing, I agreed with Senator Drilon that there should be a law that where the state should give a subsidy to parties that will put at least 30% women in their slate in local government and Congress up to president. Anyway, so with all those problems, women remain 10% in Congress.
Mhm.
In the Senate, a little more, but women can win in the local government units because, well, it's cheaper to run there. But even so, out of so many governors, I think we only have 30% women. And mayors, maybe more, but still not at 50-50. Anyway, um, but you see a different kind of campaign now because of social media. You see the campaign of Lenny Robredo is not based on money. So this is a phenomenon that that analysts are awed and amazed that this can happen. Actually, it's happened here in Bacolod. I saw it also. I heard friends in Iloilo that VP Lenny Robredo has very little funds, but the people are the one funding uh, her campaign. So, uh, but social media also has a lot of advantages now given to many candidates. Well, those who have money had a very strong start, like Bongbong Marcos. But BP Lenny was able to catch up. In Facebook now, I think she has more engagements than
Mhm.
Bongbong Marcos. And people are able to express also their opinions for any candidate, especially Marcos. So uh, I personally witnessed this, and because when I came out before I retired, that the DQ decision of the first division was being rigged by commissioner to make sure that I would not be able to vote. So when I came out, and then I was retiring, I thought, well, it's going to be a hard climb. But I am personally experiencing it. I have now 12 million engagements on Facebook, meaning
Wow.
12 million people who are liking, disliking, making comments on whatever I post. And at first, I was the only one bashing Marcos Jr., but now anybody and everybody can just post any video to express their disgust uh,
Factors.
and their opinions. So here we have it, very contested, hotly contested election where the son of a former dictator is running. So we are at a serious risk of another Marcos presidency. And what are women going to do about it? Women comprise around 50 point something percent, and men 49.8% of the voting population. In terms of turnout, in the last national elections, it's 50-50 again. But we have 4 million plus new voters now who are 18 years old, and these are the kids who have smartphones. These are the kids that are engaging in social media. We have 9 million elderly senior citizens who are registered. Half of them are women. We have around 190 persons with disability who are registered, and uh, at least half of them again are
Are
women.
women.
So um, there's no women's vote, but certainly it's easier now for women to campaign because of social media.
Mhm.
But uh, I see uh, com- the the campaign methods because of social media has really changed the it will change the outcome. Why? In Negros, for example, where we are really against Marcos because he uh, he monopolized through his cronies, Benedicto, he monopolized the sugar market
Yeah.
trading and impoverished us and eventually our workers also, such that the planters abandoned their farms and resulted to severe malnutrition, illiteracy, poverty, etc. in the whole island. So here we really have a big anti-Marcos sentiment, and Leni Robredo led here by more than 500,000 votes in the 2016 elections.
Oh.
Now Marcos has already bought many mayors here, except my mayors in the second district, three of them plus UP graduate in Sipalay, Mayor Montilla. But the but the but the wives of the mayors are for Leni. For example, the wife of the mayor of Talisay is a Lopez, and so her mother is still alive, and they're not never going to vote for another Marcos. The wife of the kingpin of Marcos here, Albi Benitez, who's Jolly Benitez. The wife was also for Leni, and so the wives are for Leni, the mayors are for Marcos, and you can see the difference in the rallies because Marcos could not even get 10,000 in his rallies, even with all that money. But Leni Robredo, DP Leni, here had around 83,000 in Bacolod. So the pressure is on Dumaguete. I was just there 5 days ago. So,
Okay.
but you see, it's a phenomenon, everybody from all walks of life attended that rally, and and people were sharing food, sharing water. People didn't leave their seats because um,
And
there's
they walk miles, no? They
a lot
walk.
of a lot of food. Meaning to say, these people were not bought; they brought food for their seatmates. You imagine 83,000 people, nobody left. Nobody left until River Maya was finished. So anyway, you see also a lot of movie stars and showbiz personalities coming out for Lenny and without any fee. Our friend Ogie Diaz, Mama Loy, Edo Manzanos from Iloilo, Agot Isidro. So well, um, Mark of River Maya, the husband of Jolina Magdangal. I think Daniel Padilla has already made his choice. So this is an election that is like no other because the issue is economic recovery. And this is where women really should uh, triple, quadruple our efforts to campaign because the issue is economic recovery. And Marcos refuses to pay state taxes in an amount of 203 billion. Can you imagine that? Our government now wants to raise taxes or create new ones so to be able to pay our $13 trillion in debt, foreign debt due to the pandemic. Now the government wants to borrow again, but Marcos refuses to pay our 203 billion pesos. Now he wants to be president. If he becomes president, it's going to be worse for us because he will not pay taxes. All sequestration cases will stop. He will import food from China. He will allow Chinese incursion in our fishing exclusive economic zone, and he's nothing between his ears. He's a cocaine addict, lazy, irresponsible college dropout. So I urge all of you to campaign like the devil is behind you because he is. He is. And so it is urgent that we explain this to our neighbors, explain it to our children, our students, that this is we're facing a crisis that calls for urgency, and we must act now. So thank you, my friends. As usual, Doc Din Oyi Dios, my friend and mentor, whom I can refuse no matter how busy I am. Look at my dog today, missed me for 1 month, so now everywhere, and so I'm glad that there's Zoom, so now I can join, a lot of meetings. I just finished one Zoom with the doctors in Olongapo, because as you know, I am representing a party list that's close to the health sector. The persons with disability party
With disabilities, yes.
number 54 in your ballot. So thank you again. I hope I have time later for questions. Thank you, Oyi.
Okay, Bing. Thank you for very informative and all the analysis that you have put in our elections here. The numbers are quite informative for our people, especially for women, to realize that they have the power to help this election towards more transformative leaders. So we will hear from Bing later on if you have questions. Now have Dr. Franco, Jean, for your insights. Well, maybe not just the challenges that women face now, but also the what do you call this? How do women decide to run for elections, and what are the factors that will influence to run or not to run? Kasi marami differences, ano?
Thank you very much, Ma'am Oyi, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. And I'm in awe that I'm in a Zoom discussion with two feminists that I admire most, Ma'am Oyi and Attorney Guanzon. No? The barriers to women's political participation are actually many. No, halimbawa, sa World Values Survey, for instance, in the Philippines, more than half of Filipinos believe that men make better political leaders than women. No? 2019 itong survey. Ano? In the same survey, 70% agreed that men have more right to a job than women, while more than 80% agreed that being a housewife is just as fulfilling as having a job. So ito yung mga traditional norms. Why it is not quote-unquote normal for women to be in politics, no? Meron ding mga pag-aaral halimbawa na nagsasabing yung what you call this, yung electoral system natin na tinatawag na first past the post, yung kumbaga winner takes all, talagang nahihirapan, no? It inhibits women's entry into politics. Without party discipline and institutionalized rules within parties, one cannot even think about internal party procedures governing women's inclusion in the party slate, no? So, may marami nagsasabi na yung proportional representation sana yung pinakamagandang sistema para makapasok ang mga kababaihan sa politika, no? Yung ano rin, no, masculinist campaign strategies such as electoral violence and reports of money politics, no, na nabanggit kanina ni Atty. Guanzon, and vote buying can potentially discourage women from running for public office, no. Yung ano rin pa, isa rin yung mga pag-aaral, sinasabi rin nila na yung labor force participation meron din kinalaman kung bakit hindi normal na nasa politika ang mga babae, kasi kumbaga, kapag ang mga babae normal na nasa labas ng bahay, nagtatrabaho, ibig sabihin nito, nano-normalize din na nasa public sphere ang mga kababaihan. So it would be very easy for them to be in politics later on, no? Ang isa pa na nakikita ko, halimbawa din, yung violence against women in politics, no? Pag sinabing politics, pwedeng in a broader sense. Pati rin yung mga media, nakita naman natin yung kay Maria Ressa, yung kay Raisa Robles, for instance, yung mga misogynist remarks, no? So, napakahalaga nito. At wala tayong batas, no? Wala tayong batas para sa mga babae na biktima ng violence against women in politics, no? Nakita rin natin yung nangyari halimbawa kay Senator Laila Diliman, di ba, na talagang nadurog siya ng mga misogynist remarks, no? And of course yung kay kay Vice President Leni Robredo, na nakakalungkot, no? Ang isa pa, halimbawa, na yun nga din, no? yung tinatawag na semiotic violence, yung violence against women in politics sa social media na nabanggit din ni Atty. Guanzon kanina, no? Na yun yung nakakalungkot kasi on the one hand, social media can, of course, like what's happening now in the campaign of Leni Robredo, can uplift, can energize a campaign. On the other hand, yung double-edged sword nun, mas madali din, mas madaling biktimahin ng sexist language ang mga kababaihan. Ang fake news din, mas nabibiktima yung mga kababaihan dahil napakadaling gawa ng storya tungkol sa mga babae, lalo na with respect to mga love lives, yung kumbaga mas hindi kasi pareho ang standard ng pagtingin natin sa buhay ng babae at sa buhay ng lalaki, no? In our society, in most societies. Tapos yung media coverage din, parating tinatanong halimbawa ng journalist minsan yung how do you balance work and family life? Na hindi yan tinatanong sa mga kalalakihan minsan, no? So ito yung parang so ito yung nakakadagdag na bakit ito tinatanong sa lalaki, no? Ay sa babae hindi tinatanong sa lalaki, no? Tapos kapag ka rin may mga nakaraan halimbawa moral transgressions yung babae, mas matindi ang stigma sa kanya kaysa sa lalaki halimbawa, no? Halimbawa ngayon, parang wala na masyadong nagtatanong kay Manny Pacquiao tungkol dun sa kanyang mga nakaraan, no? Pero I'm sure sa mga babaeng kandidato mas matindi ang tanong tungkol dito, no? Ang isa ring na observe ko yung mga electoral polls, hindi rin invisible din yung concerns ng women, no? Hindi naman kasi nila dinidisaggregate yung voter preference by sex and age group, no? Kailangan hingin mo, no? Hingin mo sa kanila at gamitin mo yung meron kang statistical analysis. Pero mas maganda sana kung kasama nung news report nila, news release ng voter preference, meron din silang another press release na sinasabi, halimbawa, ito yung mga babaeng may gusto sa ganitong kandidato, ito yung mga lalaking may gusto sa mga ganitong kandidato. Kasi ito rin yung magbibigay ng tinatawag ng na women's votes, no? Kasi doon makikita kung ano ang kailangan kong gawin para ma-attract ko yung mga kababaihan, no? So, ito rin yung kaso halimbawa doon sa mga tinatanong ano ang issues that matter to the voters, no? Hindi rin disaggregate by sex, no? So the result is that there is little incentive for coalition or party leaders to field women candidates or cater to women voters other than based on popularity, tokenism, or pedigree, no? Tapos yung ang pinakahuling nakikita ko, no, yung ating party list, bagamat syempre talagang distorted na siya at nagiging katawa-tawa, no? Doon sa aking isang research na naggawa, nakita ko na talagang ang daming nakakapasok na mga kababaihan sa party list, no? Parang kasama siya ng political dynasty. So, kailangan nating ayusin itong dalawang source ng women's participation in politics kasi parehong dysfunctional yung political dynasty, no? At saka yung at kayong party list, no? Kasi nga gusto naman nating maraming babae sa politics, pero anong klase, no? Anong klaseng mga kababaihan nito? Ayun. Okay. At tapos yung tanong mo, Ma'am Oy, tungkol dun sa anong mga kino-consider ng babae, no? Syempre yung pamilya niya, no? Hindi ganun kadali na magdesisyon na tumakbo kasi ayun nga, ikaw lagi ang de facto caregiver, no? So hindi katulad doon sa mga Nordic countries, no? Ibig sabihin yung Finland, yung Norway, yung Sweden na may mga kaakibat na tulong sa mga kababaihan na tumatakbo sa politika. Yung halimbawa yung legislature nila, merong mga daycare centers para to attend to women legislators na may mga maliliit pang anak, yung mga ganun. Wala tayong ganun.
Kasi pwede landalin yung mga anak nila.
Yun nga, mag-breastfeed pa, normal yun.
I was so amazed in the case of the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
Yes, exactly. Oo.
And then when I was in New Zealand, yung mga tao, they don't regard it as something surprising that a prime minister could go on leave because of maternity leave, kasi kanya that was not an issue. So I was really so surprised with that. So maraming salamat, Jean, sa napakarami mong insight tungkol sa women in politics. Kung tutuusin talagang wow, ang dami palang mga challenges, and then of course the weight of traditional norms and expectations on women being the primary caregiver in the family. Ang tanong parati ano na lang ang panahon mo sa mga anak mo, no?
Yeah, nakakaano nga eh.
Of course, later on, pagka yung mga anak nyo, the children do not do well, kasi naman yung nanay nasa politika.
Exactly.
Kasalanan na naman ng mga kababaihan. So, marami pa tayong mga pag-uusapan dito. Among others, yung mga inaano din, baka nakikinig pa rin si Kong Bing, no? Ang tawag nila mga anak ko ang tawag kay Bing Kombing, no? Kasi Commissioner
Kombing,
Guanzon, no? And then of course, my son was telling me meron siyang siguro mga 1 million followers. And I was mistaken. We're surprised that 12 million, no? Rockstar na itong si status million followers. Ngayon, when women run for office, and they're aware of these traditional norms and expectations of the public about them, do they, do they conform to these traditional norms and expectations, or do they just present themselves? No? Kasi merong magiging mahinhin ba ako? Magiging agresibo ba ako? Anong klaseng, what kind of behavior do they also show in order? So, and of course, some of them are very successful in combining some, like of course, Rizzo Hontiveros and some of them. And then the other important point that being pointed out is the use of online campaigning. So it's advantageous to women, but at the same time, we also know that that's also the channel for disinformation. And so how do women deal with that? No, one, the issue of how to present yourself, no, whether or not to follow the traditional expectation, and or the issue of online campaign. How do you make use of that so that it will benefit your campaign rather than let the disinformation destroy you? Ito muna siguro, Jean, habang antay natin si Bing, baka looks like she's on the road also.
Yeah, napakaganda nung tanong niyo, Ma'am Oy, no, yung paano ba. Sa mga pag-aaral, sinasabi nila na ang tendency nga dahil ang leadership nakaangkla pa din dun sa kung paano sa lalaki, no? Kung paano kumikilos ang mga lalaki, yung pa rin ang expectation sa mga kababaihang leaders. So ang nangyayari, may mga leaders na ginagaya din nila yung mga lalaki, no? Kailangan nilang magpamacho, halimbawa, kasi ayaw nilang mag-appear na quote-unquote weak, no? Kaya lang, ang nangyayari kasi, yung quiet strength na mayroon karamihan yung mga babae, hindi na-recognize. Minsan na may misconstrue yun bilang kahinaan. Ano? Ang strength kasi na mas common sensical sa mga tao yung violence or meron kang threat or maggegera ka, yung gano'n, no? So, yun yung, kaya nadi-disadvantage doon yung mga babae. So, ang mangyayari, imimimik nila yung, imimimik nila yung kung paano ba kumilos sa mga kalalakihan o kung paano magdesisyon yung kalalakihan sa politika, no? Halimbawa na lang, yung pagiging consultative, no? May mga leadership style na gusto nila i-consult, gusto nila mas inclusive, no? Kaya lang, ang nangyayari, ang tingin dito, indecisive ka. Yun yung nangyayari, no? Ang tingin ng iba, indecisive ka dahil yun na, ang modelo nila, yung kalalakihan, no? Ngunit sa isang banda, ito rin ay gusto ko rin linawin na nakaka-discriminate din ito sa mga lalaki in politics, no? Kasi pag lalaki ka na medyo naiyak ka or medyo tututukan ka talaga na parang wow, magiging headline ka pag naiyak ka. Kasi ibig sabihin, yun nga, so kaya yung mga lalaki rin in politics, tinatago rin nila ito kasi ayaw din nilang makita na mahina sila, no? Oo. Ang na-observe ko nga recently, si Volodymyr Zelensky, di ba, nagkaroon siya ng following. Bakit? Kasi yung unang-unang niyang speech nung nilusob ng Russia makita mo medyo emotional. So it was very unusual, no? And so mabuti na rin ng gano'n at nagkakaroon na rin ng kahit unti-unting realization, no, yung buong mundo na pwede ka rin naman palang maging lumaban sa gera and yet be emotional, no? Hindi natin alam kung to what extent is this a product of his being an actor, pero former actor, pero at the very least nagkaroon siya ng following, no? And parang nakita na parang okay lang pala ang leader na nasa gera na maging ganito ka-emotional, no? Oo, yun.
Yung isang punto ko, Jean, just a little, para hindi ko won't lose the point that you're making, is the point about consultation, no? And interaction with your constituency. Kasi isa itong characteristic ng transformative leader, no? That
exactly.
Consult and you do not disregard opinions of your followers. That's where you derive your strength, and that's where you derive. Yes, no? And I think this is something that you rightly pointed out na pagka ganon parang indecisive, ano, na kasi that a leader decides everything, no? Which is we also perceive strength to be, no? And just yung mga examples na binigay mo, napakahalaga just to kind of balance the traditional or stereotypical expectations, no, ng babae. Take for example Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, no, siya yung nagpakita ng strength as in very affirmative, very strong sa kanyang sa kanyang presentation of whatever ideas, at hindi siya natatakot face cases. So meron namang ganun ding swing that people like women who are assertive and that
exactly
on their own, no, between being so feminine and quiet and not. So marami tayong dapat. Nandiyan na ba si Kongbing? Is she listening in? So medyo we would like her to also comment on these two questions that we had posed.
Dagdag ko lang, Ma'am Oy, while listening to, while waiting for Kongbing, yung lang din, yung pagkukonsulta kasi, nakikita yun na na parang gusto mong may ownership yung mga tao dun sa mga magiging desisyon ng government, at nandun din yung kaalaman na yung impact ng mga panukala, ng mga programa, iba-iba, no? Iba-iba, yung tinatawag nating intersectionality, di ba? Iba-iba sa lalaki at iba sa babae. Iba rin kung saang estado ng buhay nandun yung babae o lalaki. Iba rin kung rural o urban men and women itong pinag-uusapan mo. So hindi pwedeng one size fits all, no? Hindi So yun yung kabutihan ng pagkukonsulta, no? Kasi mas nagiging inclusive at mas na-own ng mga ng tao yung mga desisyon. Pero yun nga ang nakalulungkot kasi minsan tinitingnan yun na parang mabagal, indecisive.
Oo, kasi yun na ang notion din kasi ng leader for many people that the leader decides, meaning pagka may problema siya yung magdidesisyon at kung ano man yung iba pang mga opinion pa rin yung magde-decide. So, ito yung centralism of leadership versus, the wisdom of getting so many opinions, so many suggestions, so that you reflect the balance of opinions in society. So, I think that's a very, very important point for us to remember. Nandiyan na ba si Kongbing? Wala pa, no? Wala pa. Kasi, kung tutuusin si Bing also represents a different kind of transformative leader.
Oh, yes.
All the rules. The list, no, na hindi siya keme na magsalita, and even when she is accused of breaking the rules by coming up with her opinion, she did so in a manner that is bold and that is honest and that is authentic, which is something that we do not expect women to do. And for that reason, we're sometimes magugulat ka rin sa reaction ng mga taon. My God, a lot of young people adore her. 12 million, my God, para pa siyang artista. Pwede na siya mag-i-starring.
Oo.
So, wala pa si Combing. Baka gusto mong mag-intervene dito sa dalawang issue. So before we go to the second part of our discussion, Mel, meron pa ba? Kung nandito ba si Combing? Wala pa, no? Okay. Para sa tanong, okay. So if at any point Combing is around, she can of course just tell us her opinions about the two issues that we have raised. So Mel, baka gusto mo ring mag-intervene dito sa dalawang issues na ito, since after all this is a conversation, no? Mel? Ay, dito ba si Mel?
Yes, ma'am. We're just looking for Commissioner Bing. I think she's here. Bing, can you turn on your camera? Attorney Guanzon.
Can you also open your video, Bing?
I think Dr. Encinas-Franco, siguro another question then that we can probably discuss is about the women's vote. No? Is there really a women's vote, no? in the Philippines?
Oo, kasi wala pa rin ako nakitang pag-aaral kasi na Mel, na tinitingnan yung kailangan kasi tingnan yun yung exit polls di ba? So tinitingnan yung kung paano bumoboto ang mga kababaihan. What we have lang is mas maraming babae slightly ang bumoboto kaysa sa mga lalaki. Andiyan na yata si Bing.
Ito po yun.
Hi, Bing.
Sorry, what's the question?
I think we just talked about how do women comport themselves, no? How do they present themselves in public? Do they also, kasi merong public expectations na yung babae, hindi siya masyadong agresibo, mahinhin siya. So, these stereotypical norms that how a woman should behave. And then secondly, how does she navigate this information campaign or the negative campaign against her sa online, no? Because this seems to be a predominant mode of interaction in campaign now is through the media, and often attacked for their gender or neglect of their family and moral.
Even Vice President Lenny is not spared.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kabit, kung ano, no. When I came out against Bongbong Marcos, a lot of trolls called me a whore.
So,
of course, I just slapped it off, and as you see,
so
we're breaking that bias na. Tingnan nyo si Lenin. He's
nawawala yata ang internet connection ni Combing.
Everybody is can you hear me?
Yes. Okay na. It's clear now. Okay, go ahead. Oops, nawala uli. Okay. So, she was just starting to discuss. Yeah, that no one is spared actually, no? If you are going to campaign these days for...
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
apa.
Okay now. Okay, you're back.
I'm attached to the charger kasi kaya I have no video.
Okay lang.
Anyway, we really have to break these biases, and the best way really, and now I'm enjoying social media because They didn't know. For example, I'm just citing myself as an example only because, well, they said what I did was, according to Maria Ressa, being fights fire with fire. And then another friend, legal scholar, said that being broke the climate of fear. So example lang when I started coming out bashing Marcos in public, they didn't told me right away because they didn't know what to do with me Kasi hindi ako pa bebe. Nahihirapan silang mag-style nung nila, yung banat nila sa akin. So, finally, yung lawyer na Sigmaro na sabi, I'm an incorrigible narcissistic. So, sabi ko, siya may Napoleonic complex kasi hanggang tenga ko lang siya. Tapos sinamon ko siya suntukan sa Radyo Bombo sa Iloilo Plaza. Tapos sa lahat ng TV station, sinamon ko siya suntukan Kasi 72 years old. Tapos hanggang tenga ko lang siya. Laban-labanan niya ako, baka bugbugin ko siya So walang nangyari, di ba? So ito pa ngayon, kasi we have to really commit We have to commit to act on it Kung kaya mo yung style na yan, di style mo kasi akala nila tayo lalaban So ngayon sa social media, tawag nila sa akin, the Queen of Bardagulan.
Ano yan? The Queen of? Can you repeat?
Bardagulan.
Anong ibig sabihin nun?
Kasi di ba yung bardagul, parang mga sanggano ba? Worse than that. So bardagulan. So they're making posters of me being hugged by VP Lenny. Wini-whisper ko daw sa tenga ni VP Lenny, sige ka lang, ako na bahala sa bardagulan. So in other words, itong mga stereotyping na ito, madali na natin itong i-break dahil sa social media Kailangan mag-commit tayo Kasi hindi pwedeng pabebe tayo Pag nagpabebe ka dito, ang politika, hindi ganyan. Unless talaga ang yaman-yaman mo. Diba? Na you just let your money work for you. You don't have to do anything. Pero kung talagang kakampanya ka, hindi ka pwedeng pabebe dito. Pero ang nakita ko, style, at always works yung mga motherly. Yung mga motherly sa LGUs, naku, yung mga nanay, naku. Click na click yun. So, and I think yung kabataang barangay na yun, we should encourage young women to I think you should organize leadership program for the next election na yung mga young women leaders na may talent ay ma-training sila on how to campaign and win votes.
Okay. I think this is before you came in, we were just talking about some of women, yung stereotypical expectations on women have been broken, and we cited Miriam Defensor, and I think for a long time you will be cited as one of these women who have broken the stereotype. In other words, you came out strong and you came out very determined to fight this information against you, and the name calling that went after that. I think you really brilliantly turned the tables around by calling the shots, rather than be fearful of the negative disinformation that they're spreading around you, and for that reason, I tell you. And I see this in my my children, and itong anak ko nga si Inky, sabi niya, Ma, you know that every move that you make, everything that you say, ay nakamonitor yung mga young people. I just want to tell you that. Yung mga sayaw mo, sometimes I miss your post. Pinapakita sa akin ng mga anak ko, Mat, look at Bing, nagsasayaw siya, ganyan, and doing your thing and having fun in the process,
Yeah.
Which they don't expect women to be, to get back at your detractors in a way that is both, funny, exhilarating, And
Sa
really,
yeah, kasi they keep on insinuating that I'm a lesbian. So finally, my friends and I said, are you ready? Kuya, Ogie Diaz interviewed me. So interview niya ako. Sabi niya, you're also an LGBT advocate. Naging bahagi ka ba ng LGBT community? Yes, sabi ko. So I came out. Sabi ko, ngayon, ano pa masasabi niyo? Ang dami na nga lumiligaw sa akin ngayon sa Facebook,
nakabig talaga
So, ano
naman.
pa masasabi niyo? Kasi ayan and I'm single o doon dami nag-I love you sa akin. Walang hiya.
Okay.
The kids nowadays, they're looking for a hero. And BP Lenny really is your malayo siya sa stereotype, di ba?
Oh, that's right.
So maganda na siya yung candidate natin. Kasi siya, hindi siya nambabraso, hindi siya all her life ganyan siya, talagang sincere siya, ganyan. Di ba? She doesn't have to be anything but herself. So, ito yung kandidato na we should protect. Kaya, hindi naman siya pwede sa bardagulan, di ako na lang.
Thank you, Bing, for, as I said, turning the tables around and really getting out of all the stereotypical attacks against you and, for bravely telling them what you are, what you think, and what should be in politics. So all of those things really are quite amazing, and the proof of that is that many people really support you, and this is you're talking about phenomenon. Lenny is a phenomenon, and Big Guanzon is a phenomenon.
Thank you. I have now 2 million engagements on Facebook as of the other day. 12 million.
Oh my God. Ano ka ba? Are you planning to star in a movie or something? That following? And that's already political capital, no?
Thank you. That's why I hope that PWD party list will really win 1 seat.
Because the most marginalized, one of the most marginalized sectors we should be supporting. Jean, you wanted to react? And,
Ma'am Oy, may dadagdag lang ako regarding social media. Yun nga, yung halimbawa yung mga fake news. No? Just last night, halimbawa, meron ang Rappler, meron na siyang na-address na isang fake news yung isang kandidato, sabihin na natin si Bongbong Marcos, parang meron daw yung Sinostradamus prophecy tungkol sa kanya, no? Ang akala ko natanggal na yung website na merong gano'n, no? Apparently meron pa rin, nasa YouTube pa rin. And I heard hindi daw ganun hindi daw ganun kabilis na tatanggal itong mga ganito, no? So siguro yung audience natin ngayon, lalo na yung mga students, no, baka pwede nilang i-report. Siguro pag mas maraming nagre-report, kasi hindi mas na silang madaliin, no? Yung Google, yung YouTube. Kasi parang talaga yun yung talagang napaka-insidious ng at last year pa itong mga site na ito, and parang kinall out na ng Rappler, pero apparently parang nagma-migrate lang sila sa ibang sa ibang platform or ibang site na naman. So nakakalungkot kasi parang although people are saying na parang respect other people's choices, sa akin okay lang to respect kung may informed opinion, no? Gusto niya isang kandidato dahil ganito siya, no? Pero yung alam mo na based on fake news, parang tingin ko part ng citizenship na i-call out mo yung taong in a respectful manner din, no? Na i-call out mo. So hindi ko binibili yung sinasabing respect yung opinion. Hindi kailangan talagang pag-usapan makipag-usap ka doon sa tao kasi parang rin naman para rin hindi mo alam kung ano pang mga fake news na pwede niyang maging susceptible siya, no? Maaaring pwede mo sabihin na wala kang kinalaman dahil boto ko to. Pero paano yung halimbawa, yung katulad nga sa ibang bansa, naniniwala silang hindi totoo yung COVID, kaya hindi nagpapabakuna. So, maaari na rin siya eventually, di ba?
Okay. So, napakaganda ng ating usapan ngayon, but I think we need to have a break, no? Break muna ng 2-3 minutes, and then we will resume with the second part of our discussion. Sige, break muna tayo.
Ayan, oo, napakainit ng discussion natin at napaka-exciting, no? Pero bago tayo kung saan mapunta pa muna, let's just have a break, a 2-minute break. Kombing, wag po muna kayo nga alis. We still have part 2 sa ating discussion. Pati po yung mga viewers natin will continue after 2 minutes.
JEEPGY. The CEAP stands for JEEPGY, and I stand with them. I stand for justice and peace. I seek a society free from war and the threat of it, a society that accepts and respects diversity, protecting the rights and dignity of every person. The CEAP stands with me through their programs on conflict resolution, peer mediation, and peace education. I stand for ecological integrity, for respecting the environment as our common home and working together for its preservation and protection. The CEAP protects our common home with its programs in food security like organic farming, energy management, and the preservation of key ecosystems like the Save the Sierra Madre program. I stand for engaged citizenship, for working with my LGU to respond to the concrete problems and challenges of our communities. The CEAP works with my school to give more students opportunities to be good citizens. I participate in their Citizens Watch and Voters Education programs. I stand for poverty reduction, for improving the lives of our less fortunate brothers and sisters through programs that foster the fair distribution of wealth and promote the good of all. The CEAP helps me to do this with their feeding programs, livelihood programs, and disaster relief operations. I stand for gender equality, for the end of discrimination against women, for the integration of LGBT into society, and respect for all our brothers and sisters in Christ. The CEAP stands with me with our programs in young women leadership training and gender fair education. I stand for youth empowerment, for enabling the youth to act and lead with compassion, freedom, and responsibility. I stand with the CEAP, and you can too. Sakay na sa JEEPGY. Talk to your regional JEEPGY champion to see how you can help. What is JEEPGY? The CEAP stands for JEEPGY, and I stand with them. I stand for justice and peace. I seek a society free from war and the threat of it, a society that accepts and respects diversity, protecting the rights and dignity of every person. The CEAP stands with me through their programs on conflict resolution, peer mediation, and peace education. I stand for ecological integrity, for respecting the environment as our common home and working together for its preservation and protection. The CEAP protects our common home with its programs in food security like organic farming, energy management, and the preservation of key ecosystems like the Save the Sierra Madre program. I stand for engaged citizenship, for working with my LGU to respond to the concrete problems and challenges of our communities. The CEAP works with my school to give more students opportunities to be good citizens. I participate in their Citizens Watch and Voters Education programs. I stand for poverty reduction, for improving the lives of our less fortunate brothers and sisters through programs that foster the fair distribution of wealth and promote the good of all. The CEAP helps me to do this with their feeding programs, livelihood programs, and disaster relief operations. I stand for gender equality, for the end of discrimination against women, for the integration of LGBT into society, and respect for all.
And we're back. Welcome to the part 2 of our discussion. Before we proceed again for another round of questions to our speakers, allow me to read some of the comments na nag-post sa ating FB Live. From Mark Anthony Edio, sabi niya, love and peace from Cotabato. Great to hear once again from our Bardagulan Queen, RVG. I am a fan. May fan ka pala dito from Ma'am Sam. Thank you so much, Doc Franco. Very good insights, new knowledge learned.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I think for this round of question, meron tayong mga set of questions from our audience, no, na nanonood sa atin ngayon, no. So I think I'll just go to some of this one by one, and any of you, no, can answer the question. No? So may nakita ko ditong question siguro let's go muna to the very basic, no, kasi nag-uusapan tayo on gender and governance and election, no, pero let's para siguro for the leveling off of everyone, no? So let's have some definition of terms, siguro. So may mga question about what do we really mean by gender? What is gender, no? And what is the difference between gender equity and gender equality and women's empowerment? So siguro yun po muna yung question natin for the concepts, for the clarity of the concept. So sino po kaya ang sasagot for the concept? Ma'am Oyi, ikaw yata ito.
Yeah,
for the
okay.
clarification ng mga concepts, leveling up muna ng concepts on gender, gender equality, gender equity, and women's empowerment. Ano daw po yung difference nitong mga ito?
Okay. Yung gender equality is and gender equity, they're similar but not the same, no? When we say gender equity, it may come from different perspectives, no? For example, what is fair to the Muslims is that when you have an inheritance issue, the wealth and the assets of your parents, for example, will be given to the male heir, no? At least the bigger part, and women can only be given 1/2 or even less of what is due male offspring. So within that context, fair yun, no? Fairness, no? And so when we talk of gender equity, sabi ko nga, it's the issue of fairness, but the context may be different. So it is not, whereas gender equality, no, because in many contexts na hindi pa rin equal ang babae at lalaki, what is fair is called gender equity, no? Yung dapat sa babae in the way they they perceive women's value to be. Whereas in gender equality really is equality in terms of rights, freedoms, as well as resources, no? So there is no doubt about that what is fair is that women should get equal share of what men usually enjoy. And that is the substantive equality that we're talking about. Doon naman sa empowerment, no, gender, the precondition for empowerment would be when women have legal rights, no, kasi ito yung usually what is lacking is that in many countries women's rights are not legally recognized or not institutionalized. So that's the first, no, for women to be empowered, it has to be institutionalized and recognized by society as something that should be part of the development of that society, no? And then secondly, this legal frame or this legal legislation that defines women's rights and freedom should be accompanied by resources, no? So that they are not just floating policies, but they should be supported adequately by government programs in that women. So an example of this would be, sabi ko nga, for women to be enabled to participate in politics, that there should be assistance in terms of childcare, in terms of to offset the advantages of men over women in terms of assets, but they should be supported financially when they do run for office. So yung ganon, kailangan may enabling conditions in order for laws and policies to become a reality in the lives of women. So yun lang siguro para hindi tayo mag-lecture ng isang oras.
Thank you, ma'am. No? So very clear naman kasi yung difference din nila in terms of the distinction, no? Kasi we're looking at pag-equity, parang mostly ang focus natin is the numbers, no? Getting women there in all of those areas, no? But when we're talking about gender equality or the substantive equality, we're talking about the conditions, no? Having a fair conditions kung nasaan ng mga women, no? Are they free from violence, sexual harassment? So kasi binigyan nga natin sila ng space, na opportunity to participate. But at the same time, di naman natin naayos yung papasukan nila na male-dominated, na very patriarchal pa rin yung area. So yes, salamat Ma'am Oli dyan. And I think we have some questions related to LGBTQI. And they're talking about that the future LGBTQ community always seek freedom of expression like marriage. So I think this question, baka pwedeng si Com Bing ang sumagot, no? What is the difference between sex union and same-sex marriage? So tingnan muna po natin. Nasa ano pa rin tayo, definition. So si Com Bing po ba nandyan? Attorney Bing? Attorney Bing? Ano kayo? So sa Atty, Ma'am Oy and Doc Jean, anong tingin niyo po? Pareho ba sila? What's the difference between same-sex union and same-sex marriage?
Ang pagkakaalam ko doon sa, kaya hindi rin nga, and that's also why it's difficult for us to really, parang nomenclature lang siya. Sa pangalan lang siya. Kasi yung marriage, yung family code yata natin, nakalagay doon, should only happen between a man and a woman. So yung same-sex union would be parang meron silang legal partnership that would allow them to, halimbawa, yung do some things together legally. Parang pwede siyang maging beneficiary ng partner niya, halimbawa, sa mga insurance or sa pension, yung gano'n, no? Yun yung tingin kong ibig sabihin ng same-sex union, which I think is a good way. Gano'n naman sa pagsasabatas, di ba? Mas masalimuot kasi pagbubuksan mo yung family code. So, mas maganda yung little by little steps, no? Para mas later on, mas madali nang baguhin into a bigger change.
Yung ano kasi yung sa atin yung anti-discrimination bill, I'm not familiar kung sa batas na ito. Initially there were two schools of thought here. One was yung discrimination against LGBTQ, no, specific to them, and then the other is anti-discrimination on the basis of sex, also on the basis of disability, etc. In other words, some more general framework of discrimination. And I think this is the point about LGBT na it's such a complicated and complex issue that it really needs a more specific way of defining which rights or which area they should not be discriminated against. But that is an ongoing debate. As far as your marriage is concerned, this carries a whole legal framework in our context in the Philippines, no? Kasi nga nabanggit nga ni Jean, yung definition ng marriage sa family code is man and woman. And therefore that already discriminates, no? So in a way, from the perspective, very discriminatory ito, no? Kung sabihin natin is a marriage between two persons, then mawawala yung discrimination. Pero man and woman by sex, no? So it is very, very difficult to then frame LGBT marriages within this context sa family code. So I think this issue is a reflection of how society thinks about this issue as well. But I think we're bound by international conventions saying that there shouldn't be any discrimination at all, no, on the basis of sex, on the basis of ethnicity, race, class, etc. If we follow that, if we are true to that principle, then we should be removing all vestiges of discrimination against the LGBTQI, including marriage. But as I said, that is for our legislators to decide, no? And at this point, napakahirap i-navigate both in the Senate and in the Parliament. So the best thing that we can really settle for at this moment is yung discrimination against work, discrimination, except in that very critical area of marriage. But you're right, in many countries, they provide legal rights naman, for same-sex union, but not for marriage. So we're at that point where the conversation and the debate is still happening. Okay. At ang maganda dito, merong conversation going on. It's out in the open. And then I think the LGBTQ community can also engage in this conversation. It's not easy, but I think it requires public debate and discussion in the open.
Salamat po. I think related to that issue, meron tayong question from Arnel Lopez from St. Ferdinand College. Sabi niya, how can you empower the LGBTQI community during this time of the pandemic? And siguro i-relate ko na rin dun sa topic natin on election, may nakikita ba tayo na kandidato that carries yung agenda ng LGBTQ?
Meron na, I think VP Lenny has already mentioned her support for the issues of the LGBTQI, and I think during the time of the pandemic, it's important that we be inclusive of all sectors. Hindi porke lesbian ka ba o bakla ka ba ay hindi ka makakatanggap ng vaccination, no? So that is what I mean, that in terms of social services, in terms of government access to government programs, etc., there should be no discrimination whatsoever. Nag-umpisa ito dun sa issue din ng when I was chair of the National Commission on Women. Yung sa trabaho, halimbawa, gusto ng lesbians na magpantalon sila, pero may dress code, kailangan naka-pencil cut, gano'n, So things like that, from the dress code and from the way we regard LGBT in terms of services, etc. Those discriminatory practices have to go. Lalong-lalo na in times of crisis, because in times of crisis, you need everything, everybody hands on deck para magtulungan. And I might say that in this critical stage also, kailangan natin yung, oh my God, tingnan mo ang range of talents, no, that the LGBT community, have, no, like, creativity, innovation, as well as, the fact that they're human beings, no, that deserve to be respected and deserve to be heard as well. Okay.
I would also like pala to recognize yung first question natin earlier on yung concept ng gender equity, gender equality came from Ms. Jana Luis Conesa of the Holy Family Academy. Sorry. Nandiyan na ba si Combin para makapag-comment siya on the same, sa same-sex union and same-sex marriage also later on. Okay. Our next question is from Karen May Dangel from the Holy Cross High School. So sabi niya, how can we express and teach the values from the topic of gender equality to those students who are not open to gender equality issues? So baka pati kasama yung mga teachers, no? How can they teach gender equality? Sila mismo, hindi rin
Pwede kong sagutin, Mel?
Yes, sige, Doc.
Maganda yung tanong na yan, kasi talagang meron din namang mga pushback sa ibang sectors. Meron ding mga talagang hindi sila naniniwala or sasabihin nila, bakit sa bahay namin ganito? O pinipersonalize nila yung issue, no? Hindi nila alam that it's societal and systemic yung issue ng inequality, no? Gender inequality. Siguro ang kailangan ay ipakita na yung gender equality, hindi naman ibig sabihin nun ay gustong higitan ng mga kababaihan ang mga kalalakihan, no? Ang ibig lang sabihin nito ay papantayin yung opportunities nila dahil nire-recognize na mapasa Pilipinas man o buong mundo, talagang historically and traditionally disadvantaged ang mga kababaihan in all walks of life, mapatrabaho, mapa sa edukasyon, sa lahat, no, sa lahat ng aspeto ng pamumuhay, no, dahil na rin sa traditional beliefs at mga systems in place na na-institutionalize na, no, na isang batas na, naging practice na, dahil kumbaga naka-weave na dun sa pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay ng mga tao, no, na nagiging parang pabor sa mga kalalakihan ng sistema. Ang gusto lang talaga gawing pantay yun yung equity, yung access sa education, access sa livelihood, access sa trabaho para sa kababaihan, kalalakihan at mga sexual minorities, no? Halimbawa, katulad na lang ng pag-a-apply sa trabaho, no, may nagsabi sa akin, ano namang kinalaman ng pagpalakasan halimbawa sa pag-apply sa trabaho, no? Yung palakasan na tinatawag natin ay may kinalaman sa gender issues. Bakit? Kasi napakadaling irason na, hindi yan, wag yan i-promote kasi nanganganak lang ng nanganganak yan, no? Wag yan i-promote kasi bakla yan or lesbiana yan, no? Napakadaling gawan ng istorya, no? Based on gender issues, yung halimbawa yung human resource or yung mga promotion or pag nag-a-apply ka ng trabaho. At yung gender equality rin or pag nag-espouse ka ng gender equality issue, nire-recognize mo rin na kapag yung environment mo ay misogynist, kapag ang sistema ay may pinapaboran lang ang mga lalaki, meron ding kaakibat na ito, no, na halimbawa diskriminasyon sa mga kalalakihan, nahaharm din ang mga lalaki. Paano nangyayari ito? Halimbawa, yung notion na ang mga babae ay sa bahay lang at ang mga lalaki ay breadwinner, kawawa rin yung mga lalaki na nagiging house husband dahil kinukutya sila ng lipunan, mga pababae o mga palalaki, sasabihin, tamad or kasi ang usual norm ang lalaki ang nagtatrabaho, nasa labas ng bahay, no? So, kaya meron tayong underdesire, yung mga ganon, no? So, nadi-discriminate din sila. Kasi hindi rin naman lahat ng lalaki may kakayahang maging breadwinner, hindi rin naman lahat ng lalaki may kakayahang maging magtrabaho sa labas or meron din namang may gusto na talagang mag-alaga sila ng pamilya nila. So yung mga ganong gender roles na yung expectation natin, na yun nakatatak na sa lipunan natin na hindi. So yun yung nangyayari, kaya nagdi-discriminate tayo sa mga kalalakihan kababaihan. So yun ang, siguro ganun yung opening na pwede para, kumbaga pagka misogynist ang lipunan, patriarchal at discriminatory sa kasarian, it harms everyone, no? Hindi lang ang mga kababaihan. Siguro yun yung opening para maging curious sila. Huwag nilang sabihin, ay kayo naman gusto niyo kayo na yung maghari, di ba? Usually nakikita ko yun yung mga ano nila mga sagot nila, or sasabihin nila bakit sa bahay namin, bakit sa ganyan, o yung masyado nilang pino-personalize, samantalang napakalawak na issue na to at systemic itong issue na to.
Ma'am Oyi, meron ka pong madadagdag in terms of the strategies, no, or techniques that we can use on how to teach gender equality in schools, no, particularly those na mga students and teachers siguro na hindi convinced, no, sa gender equality concepts.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mel. Mahaba-habang panahon na rin nating pinopropose itong gender equality. I think about 40 years na or so, ano? One, siguro tingnan natin bakit kinailangan ito. Pangalawa, meron ba tayong mga ehemplo ng mga bansa na malakas yung gender equality at anong epekto nito sa buong lipunan? So unang-una, tingin ko sa simula't-simula pa lang, ano, ang mga babae at lalaki, this is historical na rin, wala namang kinalaman ng hindi naman porque may inequality dahil sa mga lalaki, no? Na unti-unti nung titingnan natin yung nakalipas, ang mga babae were deprived of everything, education, the right to participate in public life, etc. Kaya yung mga as early as recently as 100 years ago, most countries, generally in countries, women are illiterate kasi sa tingin ng lipunan, only guys have the right to education. No? Kailan lang tayo nagkaroon ng education? In fact, in the Philippines, ano, towards the end of the 19th century, dahil nag-insist yung mga women of Malolos, ano, na palihim silang nagkakaroon ng mga educational sessions. At ganun din sa ibang bansa. So bawat everything that we now enjoy, quality, yung the right to education, the right to employment, the right to political expression and all that, ay pinaglaban ng mga kababaihan. Hindi naman to bigla sumulpot o equal na tayong lahat. So it's not, an abstract concept. It's a historical development where women have had to fight for their each and every right that they now enjoy. Kahit na nga ganun, marami na tayong legal rights, pero in reality, hindi pa rin ganun ka-equal. Now, bakit kinailangan natin ito? Kailangan natin ito kasi women are just one half of society. At kung hindi mo magagamit o hindi maibibigay, makakapag-contribute ng mga babae ang kanilang karunungan, ang kanilang talento, then society will not develop as fast or as it should be, no? And then ano ang benefit nito, no, ng gender equality? Well, first of all, I think we will be able to harness everybody's talents, everybody's intelligence and wisdom. And in those countries where we have particularly strong women leaders, ilan ba yung mga, hindi ko na malaman kung sino yung recent, pero the President of Georgia, the President, 2 Eastern European countries, of course, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Finland, and New Zealand, to name a few. In those countries na napakalakas ng gender equality, it's been institutionalized at medyo nabawasan because of years and years of education, hindi na rin ganong kabayas yung mga kalalakihan. Makikita mo ang laki ng kanilang improvement in terms of social services, in terms of health, in terms of valuing the family, and less resources going to war, no? So ito yung kaibahan ng women's leadership and women's equality, na mas balanse ang pag-unlad ng lipunan kasi binibigyang halaga nito yung mga human needs rather than needs to enhance your war capability, etc. So isa lang yun. At pangalawa is I think the kind of leadership, the kind of transformative leadership in politics where you are more communicative, you value and respect the opinions of others and are more consultative. Napag-usapan na natin ito. So yun yung mga nakikita nating importansya ng gender equality. And as far as education is concerned, it's not easy, but it begins with the home, no? It begins with within our family. Ako, natuto yung tanong sa akin sa isa ding radio program. Hindi ko kasi nakita yung inequality sa pamilya ko kasi first of all, lahat kami babae, no? We're all 6 girls and 1 boy na bunso pa. And then my father had parang nagluluto siya, naglalaba siya. And hindi ko nakita sa pamilya ko yung discrimination. That's, of course, swerte ka kung ganun yung family mo. The second is, I think, nung panahon ko, wala pang women's studies. Pero natutunan namin sa ibang bansa na ito'y kailangan din nating institutionalize. The methodologies as well as the content of what gender equality is all about, din mang ituro yan sa bata. Tapos pangalawa, yung textbooks natin, kailangan nating i-correct, lalo na yung mga stereotypical images of women na lalaki lang ang pwede maging leader. Kaya nung naging presidente si Cory Aquino, biglang nataranta yung ating mga wala kasi sa mga libro na ang babae pala pwede maging presidente, pwedeng maging leader din. So I think it's through one, non-formal education that starts off from the family environment and of course from a social environment, our church, our schools. And second, yung formal way that we can really inject into our textbooks, the inclusion of say women heroes, women scientists, kasi invisible sila mismo sa ating mga historical accounts. At nagsimula na rin ito kasi nagsusulat na yung mga kababaihan and we have more data. We have more data available. So hindi na ito misteryoso, hindi na ito abstract. And we can rely on historical sources para talaga balansehin. So pwede naman, matagal-tagal lang. And then thirdly, most important in the Philippines, gender equality has been enshrined in our constitution. So ito ay prinsipyo, ito ay pinapahalagahan ng ating constitution. Pangalawa, marami na tayong legislative initiatives and laws and policies about gender. At yung gobyerno natin, ang policy niya ay gender mainstreaming sa lahat ng mga government offices. So siguro marami na yon.
Salamat. So parang the transformative leadership that we want is really to have women in the position, having the position of power and decision making in order for them also to push the issues and concerns and interests of the women, especially the marginalized one, sa table for discussion and or for legislative of agenda or policy. So parang mas may magpupush na nandoon sa loob ng formal politics nga, ma'am, na sinasabi mo kanina. So very important as well yung consultation and participatory governance. I think importante yun sa transformative leadership, transformative governance. I just at this point gusto ko lang mention itong affirmation ng ating isang nanonood sa atin, si Alma Daso. Affirmation niya for Atty. Guanzon, na I hope marinig ito ni Atty. Guanzon later on, kasi parang may difficulty sa kanyang internet connection. Sabi ni Alma, she is very brave to speak out her mind, even to mention BBM as cocaine addict. Let us therefore pray that we may have a good leader. Women can do even more than men. Pero I think, ang sinasabi kanina din ni Dr. Encinas-Franco, hindi ito issue ng pagalingan, di ba, na mas magaling ang babae sa lalaki or vice versa. Pero ang what we really want is to have an equal, yung equal footing, equal opportunity with them. We have another question here from Ms. Carol Sylvia Cruz. Sabi niya, can the speakers comment on the Guinness World Records issue where Marcos' greatest robbery record became inaccessible? Parang pag ginugal yata natin, hindi na natin makikita.
Ba't nga, Hindi ko alam yan,
Ganyan ko lang nga din po na nakita to.
Samantalang yung mga fake news, no, paulit-ulit lang kahit na take down na. Oh. Well, that's also the power of having funds to hire people who can do that, no, yung mga IT specialists, no. It's sad, but that's something that we're contending with in these elections.
Actually, ito yung dapat first lesson that students should learn. That we stand out as a country not because we are the greatest, we are the wealthiest, etc. We stand out because we had a president that is the biggest robber, and his record, his regime, his government has been tagged as the biggest robbery of all time, no? $10 billion. And this is something that's factual, no? There's a lot of documentary about this. And the fact that it's been erased, no? Ay malaking bayad ito para alisin mo yung record na yan sa ating portal, sa mga IT sources. Because this is a historical fact. Hindi na natin pwedeng baguhin yon, Hindi mo pwedeng i-erase yon. Kahit na alisin mo siya sa internet, the fact is that that is a historical reality that people should know about, And nothing can erase that record. And kailangan ulit-ulitin natin ito na porque ba hindi mo nakita sa internet, wala na siya. Hindi. Kailangan nating ulit-ulitin verbally, in our writing, in our discussion, in our debate.
Dagdag ka, Doc Jean?
Kailangan talaga na tingnan natin yung social media at monitor natin ang maigi, call out natin pag may fake news. Huwag tayong mapagod na pumunta mag-report sa YouTube or sa Facebook para ma-take down itong mga sites na ito, no? Kasi talagang meron talagang mga naniniwala, no? Oo, so nakakalungkot talaga.
Siguro bago ko tanungin yung aking last question for this morning session, very curious to know yung yung take nyo doon sa quota system, doon sa pag-push ng quota system for women, Kasi I think bata pa lang ako, parang sa women's movement, ito na talaga yung ina-advocate namin ni Doc Soc Reyes, Pero unfortunately, madami din sa mga women in position na sila mismo yung ayaw dun sa quota system. Pero kayo po, as expert on gender, what's your take on the quota system?
Sa akin, yan naman talaga ang nakaka-address, Marami ng pag-aaral na nagsasabi yung quota system, yun yung isang pag-address doon sa pagdami, kung gusto nating dumami yung mga kababaihan sa formal politics. Ngunit, halimbawa yung case ng Rwanda, umabot sila ng more than 50% of women sa kanilang parliament. Kailangan side by side with advocating or legislating quota system for women or reserved seats, whatever form it may take, pwedeng at the level of the political party, yung information campaign na bagamat gusto natin ng maraming kababaihan sa politika, kailangan din natin piliin kung anong klaseng kababaihan ito, Kasi we are concerned with the numbers, but we're also concerned with the quality, Anong klaseng kababaihan yung ating iboboto, Kasi kung babae sila pero hindi naman sila mag-espouse ng gender equality issues, then hindi rin hindi rin natin ma-achieve yung objective natin.
Siguro, dagdag ko lang, yung dito sa quota system, doon sa mga nabanggit ko na nagkaroon ng Prime Minister and Presidents ng mga kababaihan, inumpisahan nila yung kanilang campaign for gender equality by using a numerical quota, 40%, no? This is, I think, their assessment of what politics has been in those countries, na alam natin na some of the things that we have mentioned, the challenges, the problems, the hindrances, why women cannot run in politics, can only be overcome after decades and decades of, campaigning for gender equality. And we may not even achieve it during our lifetime. So in recognition of the fact that these challenges remains, a formidable block to women's ability to participate and run for office, yun yung ng quota system, that's the rationale. And secondly, pag sinabi natin quota, hindi naman to forever, no? It is a temporary mechanism by which certain societies can enhance equal numbers of women in politics, in formal politics, so that it can achieve a semblance of balance. And it can be, for 5 years, it can be for 10 years. So it is very time bound, no? Na pag meron ng progress in terms of some 20%, 30% is the threshold. Pwede na sigurong alisin yun, or i-reduce. Of course, a lot of traditional politicians will contest that. In fact, it's been rejected in Philippine in our Congress for the fact that bakit kami gumagastos na napakalaki samantalang yung mga kababaihan just because they are privileged, kailangan. In other words, they see that as a discriminatory practice. Hindi nila nakikita yung context, no? That if they were running as women, they would have this kind of problems and challenges, no? So that is not even recognized, no? And therefore, I think marami-rami pa tayong kailangang debating mangyari dyan. But to me, as long as the quota system is limited and that everybody is everybody understand that this is something that will one enabling condition that will facilitate, the entry of women in politics, that it can be accepted, as a temporary device, para nga ma-hasten, and this was proven in many countries. But as Jean was saying, hindi naman po pwedeng porke babae ka. Usually nangyayari nga mga asawa, mga anak, mga kapatid, ganon. Of course, this should be accompanied by a condition where it says that women should be competent, that they have certain skills, competence, and experience to qualify even in that quota system. And it's not just based on, being a woman.
It's good that you mentioned that, Mamo, kasi very critical na maintindihan ng lahat that the quota system is a temporary special measure, no? So talagang kasi nga right now we need it because hindi talaga equal, hindi natin ma-reach even the 30% critical mass, no? So kailangan natin ngayon nun, but at the same time once we reach that, so baka pwedeng wala na, di ba? And a good point din yung sinasabi ni Doc Jean kanina na baka naman kasi hindi naman talaga qualified, no, yung mga babae, pero dahil may quota ay makakapasok sila, yung mga members ng political clans or political family, no. So kaya very important talaga this is combined with yung leadership, yung capacity building, no, yung training talaga for the women who will be running for public office. And hindi dahil babae sila at may quota tayo papasok na lang, dapat prepared din, no, in terms of yung in terms of leadership skills, no, and yung capacity building nila on how to do the job. So parang yun, combination of many factors nga, no. So, okay, siguro po last question na lang, and I think pwedeng ito na yung closing message nyo, no, for this session. Kasi ilang tulog na lang po, election na. So, what message, no, do you wish to tell the public or the voters, no, as they decide the candidates who they will be voting for?
Ako ba, Mel?
Sige, ikaw na.
Well, this is a very consequential election. And marami tayong napanood, marami tayong napakinggan, no, so far. It's still more than a month to go. Siguro patuloy tayong kumausap, patuloy tayong makipag-usap doon sa, especially yung outside of our circle, para mapakinggan natin, no, yung boses nila at respectfully inquire why or what factors made them choose a certain candidate, no. And kung dahil sa fake news, hindi naman siguro masamang kausapin natin sila once again in an engaging manner at para lang makita nila yung kung saan, no, nila binabase yung kanilang yung future nitong bansang ito, no. At the end of the day, alam ko maraming may mga candidates na hindi incumbent, so it's probably unfair then kung minsan kung sasabihin mo yung track record or whatever, pero talagang at the end of the day, ang ating titingnan kung boboto tayo for a particular candidate would be kung meron na ba silang ipinaglaban sa buong buhay nila, no? Whether in their public lives or in their personal lives, in their personal capacity, no? Kasi kung wala silang ipinaglaban sa buong buhay nila, mahirap maniwalang ipaglalaban nila yung bansang ito o ipaglalaban nila tayo, no? Kahit kailanman. So sa akin yun lang ang basehan ko eh. Hindi lalo na sa mga taong walang panahon magsaliksik, walang panahon na mag-Google, walang panahon na umattend ng mga rallies, walang panahon na makipag-usap. Yun lang. Yun lang ang tingnan mo, may pinaglaban na ba to? Kasi kung wala, talagang bola lang lahat yun. So thank you so much.
Salamat, Doc Jean. Ma'am Oyi.
Okay. Siguro ang nangingibabaw sa isip ko ngayon, no, na may 4 akong iniisip na paraan para sa bawat isa sa atin na itong eleksyon na ito kakaiba siya, no, sa mga nakaraang eleksyon. Dahil meron tayong, the choices are very clear, no? And the choices are based on ano ba talaga yung ating value, no, bilang isang bansa. At nakita natin sa napakadaming mga tao na who are there, really joining rallies, really participating in social media discussions, unprecedented. Yung people's involvement in this election alone, no? Whatever candidate they are rooting for, nagkaroon ng napakataas na interest sa election na ito. Because we are in a context where social media technology has taken over, our sources of information. At dahil dito, halo-halo na, may totoo, may hindi totoo, may disinformation, may paninira, merong praise releases. Therefore, this is also the time to be informed and be discriminating as to what we will believe in. Kasi sabi nga natin, this is a battle for truth, no? Never before have we been, except starting in 2016, na-realize natin na, my God, pwede palang mangibabaw ang kasinungalingan dahil yung mga tao hindi nila tinitimbang kung anong tama ang mali. Ngayon, this is the time of truth. This is the moment of reckoning na kailangan ng mga tao should be informed in a way that will value the truth. So ito yung unang-una, that people should either listen and read and be informed, but be discriminatory about what they will believe as the truth. The second is, I think, to get involved and participate. Sabi ko nga ngayon lang ako nakakita na talaga yung mga tao lumalabas in their thousands to participate in a rally and to contribute on their own, no? Nabanggit nga ni Combing kanina na yung mga tao na mismo nagpa-fund, no? Parang it's a people's campaign, no? Hindi na ako magpapatumpik-tumpik. kay Lenny ko lang nakita yon na isang walang perang kandidato na ang kanyang pinagbabasihan lang yung kanyang experience, yung kanyang service, yung kanyang commitment, na walang bahid ng showbiz, na walang bahid ng pagkukunwari, yung mga tao ang natutuwa, no? Para suportahan siya. And I think, sabi ko nga, marami nagsasabi, this is a pink revolution, this is a pink movement. But I think it's more than that. No? It's more than supporting Lenny. I think people have now realized, kung hindi ako kikilos, ganito ang mangyayari sa bansa. No? It's a self-realization and the valuing of ano ba talaga yung ano natin, parang nakaka-insulto yata na hindi tayo kumilos, hinayaan natin na yung politika mapunta sa mali. And so I think this is a fight for one's self-respect and dignity, individually and collectively as a people. Kaya in whatever way, people are very active in social media, very active in participating in politics, very active in supporting through their own resources, the kind of candidate that they wish to see win in this election. Number 3, make a difference. Make a difference. Siguro, this sounds very hackneyed, but it is, something that is really strikes you at the core. Na kasi parang ano bang tawag sa Tagalog, mahahalukip-kip na lang ba ako, malalim yon. Na I'll just, kasi noon, sige, sino manalo dyan, wala tayong magagawa, talaga naman ganyan ang politika sa Pilipinas. That kind of indifference was so predominant. Ngayon nakikita ko sa mga tao, hindi, manalo o matalo, kailangan kong gumawa ng paraan para magkaroon ako ng magkaroon man ako ng contribution dito sa election na ito. So making a difference in whatever capacity, whatever way you can, nakikita ko sa mga tao. And then of course, the last one is make your vote count. At dito, this is the tricky issue because this is technology that's going to determine who the winner is. Yun na lang pag-transport ng mga balot. Ang nakikita ko, nakikialam yung mga tao, bakit ganyan? Walang nag-observe nung piniprint. Bakit ganyan? Nakakuha ng kontrata para sa pag-print at pag-transport ay si Dennis. Uy, yung mga ganong klaseng, the curiosity, the investigative, the kind of concern that people have in every detail and process of the election is something that I would like us to always remember, that we should be vigilant at the very end until our votes are counted.
Thank you so much, Ma'am. You very well said, Ako ang criteria ko lang din kung sino ang iboboto ko, yung tapat, T stands for transparent, A for accountable, P for participatory, A for all inclusive, so lahat tayo kasama, and T, trustworthy. So yun lang, without even mentioning any name. Alam niyo na kung sino.
Yeah.
So maraming salamat po ulit. Ang dami nating na-discuss, from the barriers and challenges of political participation to the strategies, and ano yung pwedeng magawa ng mga kakandidatong babae, for instance, in politics, or yung mga babaeng nasa politics na. So at kung ano-ano pa, ang dami nating mga iba pang issue pa na even beyond the transformative leadership na topic natin. So once again, maraming salamat po Ma'am Oyi and Doc Encinas-Franco and si Attorney Guanzon kanina nakasama natin dito. Before we end, may I just remind you again that you will receive the certificate of attendance only upon completion of the evaluation form. The link is already posted in the comment section of this page and on our Facebook page. Again, please note that the link is now live and we will remain open until 5 p.m. today. So until 5 p.m. lang po yung ating pag-access ng ating evaluation form. So we encourage you to answer the evaluation form and you will receive your certificate of attendance within the next 3 to 5 days. Please note also that the PowerPoint slides of all sessions for the JEEPGY conference will be made available at the CEAP website, www.ceap.org.ph, ready for downloading. So the materials of the past days will be there. So we would like to thank our web host, Raxo City, and of course, the Private Education Assistance Committee for being such wonderful partners for the JEEPGY conference. We also invite you to join us tomorrow, March 18 at 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. right after the Day 5 session on poverty reduction for another episode of the Kwentuhang Halalan. Our Kwentuhang Halalan series are conversations about the elections. Tomorrow, we have guests from Central Luzon, Region 3, and Cagayan Valley, Region 2. As usual, this is aired live in Radyo Katipunan 87.5 FM and posted on our CEAP Facebook page. Also on March 25, that's Friday at 6 p.m., the CBCP and JESCOM will be hosting Usapang Halalan at Tayanday Hall, Arete Building of the Ateneo de Manila University. It will also be live streamed on JESCOM, Radyo Katipunan, and several other social media partners. We will also cross-post it in our official CEAP Facebook page. Join us again tomorrow, Day 5, for our session on poverty reduction titled Stories of Men and Women Who Have Made Poverty Their Life's Mission. On behalf of our President, Sister Marisa Viri, RBM, and the CEAP Board of Trustees, Mr. Jose Alan Arellano, the Executive Director and the National Secretariat, I am Mel Reyes saying thank you and good morning.
Sa ikaw at ako, natuto sa prinsipyong punyo at serbisyong totoo. Kahalintulad ni Kristo, isang puwarang Katoliko. Pagkakaisa sa tulong at gawa, masasalamat alaala, pagbabago, ang misyon sa mundo, magagawa sa biyaya ni Kristo. Ang kabataan, may hamon at alay sa ating bayan, maging lingkod at tulad ng pagbabago sa misyon sa mundo. Virgen Maria, ang gabay at ang modelo. Sa mundong may bagong anyo, isang bansang may bagong sigla. Dahil sa ikaw at ako, natuto sa prinsipyong punyo at servisyo.